Welcome, everyone, to the Product Marketing Masters podcast. Today, we have Chris Hinch from A&M. He is a Microsoft MVP and part of the Microsoft M365 Champions program, also co-host of the Feature Frontier podcast, and has been in the IT industry for over 25 years. Chris, thank you so much for hopping on today. I really appreciate you agreeing to join the podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. I always enjoy having conversations with people. So no, this is going to be fun.
So with the guest, I like to, introduce the podcast just a little bit. We are focused a lot on, especially AI right now, with it being super big in the industry
Hot.
and kind of how
Being
that's,
hot.
being super hot and how that's framed 2025 and how it's kind of coming into 26. So in your experience, especially with your previous tech, how has the tech industry evolved in 2025 with AI?
I mean, it's been an explosion. It's one of the fastest kind of feature add explosions of technology that I've ever seen. And I've been, like he was mentioning, I've been in tech for 25 years. It's nothing has evolved as quickly as it has. And that's good and bad. There's some people that are like just latching onto it. It's like, I want to use everything that I can. And then because of how aggressive, then it's expanding across all platforms, not just like what I'm familiar with on the Microsoft side, but all the platforms is how they're trying to keep up with each other. It's scaring a lot of people as well, because once they understand it, then it changes. And then they're starting to kind of take a step back with, whoa, I don't know or like or understand where it's going. So I just need to time out for a second.
I mean, that perfectly makes sense. I know I've talked to a lot of people who are on the AI hype train and then others who are completely against it and try to have nothing to do with it. What would you say is a good happy medium?
Well, I mean, the happy medium that I always tell people is to figure out how you can get AI to work for you, because it's going to work differently for everybody. And the term that I always use is find your aha moment. And once you find your aha moment on how it can help you, whether it's, in your day to day, whether it's in a very specific thing that you do, how you can evolve the business. Once you figure out how this new tool that's in your tool bag, how you can use it and understand it, then you'll start to understand the power of it, but not to be scared, because this is just where it's going. So you need to, even if you just use it as the new search engine, right? The new Google or the new Bing, just understand that if you have a conversation with it, instead of just trying to use it like a Google or a Bing, like just do something, a quick search. But if you start to understand that, hey, this is actually the form that we're in right now, it's a chat bot for them, for lack of better words, right? So just have that conversation and you can start to see where it can be exponentially better than a search engine. And that's how I get people to typically get to their aha moment is, you didn't get the answer you wanted right away. How often when you're pulling up a search engine, being a Microsoft guy, I typically say Bing, but we'll say Google for everybody on here. When you pull it up, do you ever get the first one? No, because you got all these SEO and all this ads and all this stuff that's up there now, because everybody's trying to take advantage of it. So what if you could take all that away and it's like, oh, I got close now. Now let's refine it a little bit more. You can't refine a search, but you can refine a chat. And so if you can help people get to that point, then people start understanding how it can help them, even if it's just minutely.
It makes perfect sense. And I mean, I'm a Google guy myself. Any pros to Bing, I'll be completely honest. But I got to ask, like, with being so long in the tech industry, what was your aha moment that got you more into AI?
Microsoft does a good job with their hype videos, and they're that, right? They are very hype. When I first started using Copilot and then ChatGPT and then some of the other versions that are out there, my aha moment was, like I was just mentioning, how much better of a search engine that it can be. And now that I'm like fully engulfed in it, because like you was mentioning, my MVP is in Copilot, I know I get a lot of information from Microsoft on how they're developing the product. So I can see how the tool is evolving and how I can use it and how I train people every day. So obviously I use it way more than I do now. But when it first came out, just how you can easily refine your searches, and I could get to the data that I'm looking for a lot quicker versus just doing a search on Bing.
That makes perfect sense. I use ChatGPT and Gemini the same way, to be honest. It makes searching a ton easier. With all these AI tools, and especially with coming into 2026 and whatever the future of AI happens, what would you say, like, there's one big major challenge for tech that business leaders aren't ready for yet?
I would say the biggest challenge is a lot of companies are in this FOMO type scenarios. Like, we've got to use AI. We got to use AI. AI is the new term. And if you think about a handful of years ago, how did you get anything through budget approval? You tag security to it. And then you almost got an instant approval. If he's like, oh, well, this is to beef up our security. Now you get this instant approval. Oh, we can beef up our AI. But what are you using AI for? If you don't have a use case and you're just doing it to keep up, or you're just doing it so you can tell people that you use AI, you're already failing. So I always, when I'm helping customers like do pilots and do rollouts with Microsoft's AI being Copilot, I always have there's a slide that I put up, and we spend a good 30 minutes to an hour just talking on this one slide. And there's just a handful of bullet points with questions. And the first one is, what are some pain points that you want to address? If you can't even answer what pain point that you're wanting AI to address for you, small, big, doesn't matter. Just a pain point. If you can't identify that, you're just like, we just need to use AI, then you're already failing. So I encourage people to figure out, okay, AI can help you. Yes, how do you want it to start helping you so you can then take on the next step and the next step? And it's kind of that whole iteration. You can't take step 18 without taking step 1. So figuring out what your step 1 is and how you're going to get there is what I always encourage people to do. And that's the biggest challenge, is how are you wanting it to help your organization?
And with your interactions with customers, what would you say is some of the most common pain points you've seen?
Oh, the most common one is they want people to be more productive, but they can't define that. And so that's when we start showing how it can interact inside the applications. And one of the examples that I always use is, most of us in a day-to-day, if you have a desk job, you use Excel. Most of us do. Everybody can, fill in a field and do very like a sum or like a very simple kind of calculation in Excel. But when you get into some of the really powerful, cool things that Excel can do, what did we all do before? We went out to the internet and said, hey, I'm trying to do X, Y, and Z. Help me do this. And then you go through 10 articles before you figure out exactly how to do it. Like, you try the first one, it didn't work. You tried the second one, it didn't work. 2 hours later, you finally get to where you wanted because you had to search the internet to do it. Now, what you can do is you can, inside the application, tell Copilot, hey, I want to do this. Help me create a formula for it. And depending on your license set, if you just have the included feature or the paid license, if you have the paid license, it will say, here's how you do it. Do you want me to apply it? Okay. Now it took me, a minute and a half versus 2 hours. And if you have the included version, it'll tell you how to do it. So at least you saved all the time from searching, and it tells you how to do it. So you went from, 2 hours in my example now down to just a handful of minutes. And so you're saving increments like that. And that's the big thing, is how you can save increments of time. You're not ever going to get, I saved 2 hours. You're going to say 15 minutes here, 10 minutes here, 30 minutes here, 5 minutes here. And those are going to add up through the day. And if you add all those up, how much did you save throughout the day? Then you probably saved a good 10, 15, 30 minutes, hour, 2 hours. And if you do the ROI on top of that, now you're starting to really see some savings that you're doing.
I mean, that makes perfect sense. I think because I've used ChatGPT a lot for this too, and a little bit of Gemini. Those have been my main two. When coming up with those formulas has been so time saving, especially when I'm doing other stuff in either Excel or Google Sheets or whatever it is. But I know also one of the big problems with AI is the hallucinating. I'm sure that's probably not as big of an issue when you're using it just to create formula. But how do you handle when AI hallucinates and kind of double checking itself so that you can have the correct information instead of not?
Yeah. So, this goes back to the old adage, trust but verify. So if you don't think the answer is correct, because to your point, there's a chance that it's not. Now, as the models have gotten better, when it first came out and we were just on, the playing 4 models, and now we're on the 5 models, hallucinations they've improved where it doesn't happen as much. I will say that, but they still do happen, to your point. And so it's always a trust but verify. And if you don't think something is accurate, because right now we're in this level of AI where it's mostly chat-based, like ChatGPT, Gemini, Copilot, they're all chat-based. Anthropics, right? You're chatting still. Ask it, are you sure? If you don't believe it, even if it is or if it isn't, are you sure that's correct? Like, you can ask it that question if you're doubting it. And if you think it's wrong, say, no, I know you're wrong. Because I was doing something for a client where we were trying to troubleshoot something across their environment. It was a situation that I fairly rarely run into. So I needed to double check myself. So I asked Copilot a question for it. And it said, oh, do X, Y, and Z. I'm like, That's not available in the platform anymore. You can't do that. And so, oh yeah, you're right. Let me research it further. So, like I said, it's one of those things like if you know it's not right, don't take it as right. Tell it's that, because all AI platforms right now, and this is one of the things that most of them are saying. When I say most of them, the different providers, like your open AIs and your Anthropics, they're saying that AI answers with such certainty that people believe it. And you just need to come back and have some self-awareness. And that's a big challenge for people too, is to, if you know it's not right, tell it, because that's the only way it's going to get.
And would you say, kind of, because with my experience also with talking to ChatGPT, it's sometimes it gets a little too agreeable, right? Or sometimes, especially with Gemini, it's always like, this is a great strategy. Here's the only strategy you have left. Here's the only strategy you have left. And after like 4 or 5 times of hearing that in the same conversation, I'm like, okay, look, you're saying this is the only strategy I got left, or, the only option, but you've said that 5 times, right? Like, how do you combat some of the agreeableness that AI can have when,
That was another thing, that when it went from the 4 model to the 5 model, that helped a lot with the agreeableness as well, because that was some of the complaints that were coming out when they went from, I'm talking, let's say, the 4 to the 5. I'm talking specifically OpenAI, which is ChatGPT and Copilot. They went
right?
from GPT-4 to GPT-5. So that's one of the things that they did address. But when I find the scenario that you talked about, I'll start open just a brand new chat and basically like reset the LLM that I'm talking to at that point. If it's continuously telling me what I don't want to hear, and like to your point, it's like, this is your only option, this is your only option, I'll open up a new window or a new chat and I'll phrase my question slightly different to try to get it off of that. And I've found success doing it that way. I'm not saying everybody has, but I've found success that way.
Now, Chris, we've been talking a lot about kind of using AI, especially in our day-to-day things. So I want to switch gears just a little bit. How do we use AI in a business setting to where it's actually effective in your business?
Again, it's trying to find the low hanging fruit, the pain points that you want to address. And the ultimate goal for everybody should be, how do you get into a different mode of work? It should always be, how do I get from surviving to thriving? So can I take away some daily tasks that are just taking cycles from employees? Now they get those cycles back and they can use those cycles to innovate for the company. So that gets them out of, hey, I need to keep the lights on, to how do I make the lights shine better? So if you can figure out how you can do that, how can you create automated workflows? How can you ground data, whether you use an Anthropic, whether you use OpenAI type model, how can you ground the data, whether it's, LLM being large language or SLM being small language models? How can you figure out what model and what language and what information you need to help your business move forward? If you're in sales, then you don't need a full LLM. Say you're in an FSI industry, right? You don't need a full LLM. You can just tailor it to an SLM to make things quicker for you, so you can use more of the financial type speak for your language models. Again, you have to figure out how you can address pain points in an HR situation. The common example that I use is, normally, because I work in IT, so I like to use this example a lot. And this is just a use case. When IT is trying to hire somebody and they write up the job description, they send it to HR. These are going to be topics and phrases that HR is unaware of because they don't sit in IT. It's like, I have no clue what these things mean, so I'm just going to match keywords on people's resumes. And then, so they're going to send the hiring manager a bunch of stuff just because people have put certain keywords in there. Where AI can help you is like, here's the job description that the hiring manager has written. Here's all the resumes that I have intaked from this job posting. Put them all into a folder. And then you can create yourself an agent. You can create yourself just a prompt. You can say, based on this document, which is the job description, I need you to stack rank all of the resumes that have come in based on their resumes. And you can even say, you can also go out to the LinkedIn profiles if it's public, or, you can add other kind of caveats in there if you want, and stack rank them. So I can give the hiring manager the top 10 versus, all of these that match. And so now you're helping streamline things to the hiring manager. And if you do that, now you've helped HR kind of fast track or accelerate how they're getting resumes to the hiring manager. And now you're also helping the hiring manager, because that person is only having to review a handful versus everything. So you've sped up the entire process.
No, and that makes perfect sense. And I do love the automation. But one question, especially that I've seen across all my LinkedIn, is you have a bunch of AI that's customer facing right now, right? You've got AI outreach with emails, you've got AI outreach with LinkedIn, you've got AI chatbots on your website. How involved do you think AI should be customer facing?
It's going to depend on the industry, to be honest. I think having some of the front set of AI, granted, you have to prepared with your data, and we'll use. I'm just trying to think of a good example that's appropriate to talk about. Okay, here's a good one. It's you have a forward facing one, it's a sales role, and you needed to ask questions about, hey, can your product do X, Y, or Z? If you have a stellar product catalog that's being, on the back end of this AI, so it can ask initial questions or answer initial questions, that's a good thing, right? Because you're going to get to the thing a lot quicker versus you actually speaking to an agent, and like you call me. I might be an expert on one portion of this, but I'm not an expert on the entire thing. So depending on what your question is, I might be able to answer your question super quick, or I might have to look it up. Or AI, because of how it works, it can answer it a lot quicker. I would always encourage people that create those bots that if they're not getting anywhere, that they have quote unquote an out, say, talk to representatives. Like, I just need to talk to somebody. So if they can have a front end for the people that want the quick answer, or, like the entry point where they're going to talk to AI, but give them the availability to do that out to talk to somebody, because there's going to be people that don't want to talk to AI. They want to talk to somebody. I would encourage them to say at any point, if you need to talk to representatives, like representative kind of thing in the chat, and then it forwards it to somebody.
So have the AI there available, but at the same time also have an easy way out to get to a representative.
Correct.
That makes perfect sense. I'd say as we're running up on time, I've got kind of two last questions, right? The first one is, in your job capacity is also with your customers, what would you say most useful for you AI has been?
For me and my day-to-day job, I would say being able to navigate my inbox, my email inbox has been a lot easier with AI, because there are certain things that I have scheduled that at the end of the day, because I get tons of emails from internal and external people. And what we've found a lot is people will work all day and then they spend their after 5 to catch up. If you can figure out how you can get all that done with prompting, and you can get what I refer to your 5 to 9 back. So granted, we don't work 9 to 5 anymore. We work 8 to 5, right? But the example is, how do you get your 5 to 9 back? Well, use the tools. Ask it, have scheduled prompts at 4:30. Have a prompt that runs like, help me understand which emails that have come from an outside domain I'm in the to field that I have not responded to, because most likely those are customer emails that need something from me. So help me flag those versus, okay, it's 5 o'clock. I don't have any more meetings. Let me go back through my inbox for the 200 unread for the day that I have not responded. It takes time. Or you can have AI kind of pull it into it. And it's like, these are the ones that you need to answer to. That's been a kind of a game changer for me.
I gotta love that automation. And then final question. What excites you most about the potential uses of AI in the upcoming future?
The velocity that they are adding features and the roadmap on how they are starting to understand not just things that the LLM has access to, but the things how you can there's a term, it's called computer use now, where you can actually analyze things that are locally versus out on the internet. So the ability to be able to search and analyze more data and quicker because of the newer models that they're coming out with today, I feel like that's going to be the next step, is how you can use not just data that is available to the LLM via the internet or the tenant. Like, you can actually get data that is locally or in gated type, like say, when I say gated, like a website that you have to log into. So now you can get more data into the resources that you need. But that comes with the caveat where you need to make sure your data is secure. So, I mean, there's a con to that as well.
No, and I think that's great. That's definitely some exciting times that we've got coming ahead. Well, that's all the time we've got for today for the podcast. Chris, I want to thank you so much for coming on here today and discussing
Absolutely.
as in depth as we did.
Yeah.
And we'll
No
chat
problem.
next time.
Appreciate it, man.